So, just by way of, so yesterday I had a faculty meeting in Hannibal, and this was one of the teachers in Missouri somewhere, does this with their students, and I thought this was kind of a neat idea, and again, I'm just trying to give you guys ideas. I'll put this in a handout that I think looks prettier, but the idea basically is she'll hand out like a scripture, and there's the topic, and then they'll write out together as a class the key statement of doctrine. So they'll, what they do, they follow a schedule, and they just do this every week, just like this. So like Monday, they'll go find and mark within the core document the key statement of doctrine in the scripture. They'll mark it. And then on Tuesday, they will read the verse through just twice and identify the key words, the phrases, just talk through it a little bit, but maybe a 5-minute, 2-minute activity, something really short. Wednesday, they will ask questions about the verse. And this is, again, quick. They just say, what are some of the questions that this verse might answer? Then Thursday, they send the kids off to maybe do some research on their own, but Thursday they then have a brief conversation about the answers, and then on Friday they just do a memory challenge where she'll just grab random verses throughout whatever they've covered and just does this quiz on Friday, and that's just how it works. Now I know that's a little different for you because you meet with them once a week, but what we're learning is, you've got your Doctrinal Mastery Book of Mormon manual, which has these segments and the practice and all that, and that needs to happen because that's helping us get the topic figured out, because that's the main thing, is that we're trying to know the doctrine and practice role-playing, acquiring spiritual knowledge, principles, all that kind of stuff. But the kids are not going to know the verses unless we cover them regularly, unless we have something, even if it's a 2-minute something at the beginning of class to go over. And I would recommend, you may not want to do her system, I recommend you come up with a system, something that just is what you do and it just plugs in. So you're not thinking every day, oh, I got to do something Doctrinal Mastery, what should I do? Just have the same kind of a thing. Kids learn better when they know what to expect and they just plug into a system. Then you don't spend time learning a system, you just learn what's going on. But anyway, that's an idea. Do you have any questions about that or any idea?
I'm going to say, Brother Anderson, that we generally spend time, a few minutes every morning, with these scriptures. And so the kids are making the connection between the scriptural reference and the content and a few key words.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess my concern is with the way that we're doing is that the application isn't there. I mean, they haven't memorized the key statement of doctrine necessarily, mm-hmm. maybe the few key words from the key statement of doctrine.
Sure.
And so we need to do something like that, so that there's a transition from just memorizing
what's in the verse to how to teach it.
Application.
I agree. And I hope these flashcards help. I hope as you give them to your students, you say, there's the verse summary, which helps, right? That's more the content, and that's what's on your little accordion thing. But then there's a key statement as well, and try to help them now take the next step to natural man's an enemy to God, but what that says, how I can teach that is, because if you're sitting there eating lunch and your friend's like struggling with something that applies, you're not going to be like, well, the natural man's an enemy to God, right? I mean, that's not going to mean anything to a kid. But if you say, I found that I'm happier when I try to align myself with what Jesus Christ would do, well, that's Mosiah 3:19. It's just using, does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And then the application really comes in those role plays, right? And that's why we need to keep, I know nobody likes role plays, but we got to keep practicing and drilling with our kids, not talking about, moments in their life where they might need this, actually acting like that's happening right now and practicing with each other. There's a difference.
And what if even asking them, what are situations you encountered this week? Okay, everybody,
Let's practice.
One Doctrinal Mastery scripture we could use to help that situation, or coming up with things that I hear my kids talking about, or whatever.
Sure.
Here's a situation I heard in the news. What's a scripture from our Doctrinal Mastery that we can use to help?
I love it. Or even, I got an email yesterday, a teacher taught Korihor, I guess that would have been weeks and weeks ago. You guys are actually flying, but we may have started later. Korihor, here's all these anti-Christ things. I'm going to give you 5 to 10 minutes, this teacher did, and you find Doctrinal Mastery verses that will refute the false doctrine. And because this particular teacher had done all 25 Doctrinal Mastery verses last semester, just blazed through them, so now the kids are becoming more conversant the second semester, and she says it was awesome. They were connecting, oh man, when he says this, that's what this Doctrinal Mastery verse said. And that's cool, seeing it in the scriptures.
Well, and asking them, I have a bad habit, or I have had a bad habit, I'm trying to fix it. They give, you say, what verse would, I haven't done this, but I can see this happening in my class, what verse helps with this situation? And they give you a verse, and then me as a teacher try to hurry and figure out how they applied that verse. But instead, how does that verse apply?
Yeah, what are you seeing in that
Yeah, what
verse?
do you see in there, and letting them be the teacher.
And that, by the way, is just best teacher practice,
Right, I know.
right? A lot of times kids will say things that we don't know what to do with. We're like,
Right.
And so teachers will then put all the burden on themselves to make the connection. Oh, don't do that. Say, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I say,
Tell me what you mean by that.
I say, tell me more.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to hear, why did you think that with that, right? But, yeah, for sure. And so I love those ideas, though. Just, where do you get, if somebody asks a question in class about something, pausing and saying, boy, that sounds like something we could use the principles of acquiring spiritual knowledge with. Class, what do you think? How could we act in faith with this one, or whatever? That's why you've got to know it, or that's not going to happen when these things take place. So anyway, just keep working on it. That's all I'm going to say about Doctrinal Mastery. And again, hopefully we'll start getting more resources, more ideas, and we'll share those, and I'll have a way of getting them out to you. But